Hi everyone, my name is Megh Marathe and I use they them pronouns. I'm here today to present joint work with Priyank Chandra from the University of Toronto and previously UMSI. In recent times, the Global South has seen a large number of initiatives aimed at moving from paper-based governance to digitized and electronic systems. However, during fieldwork at one such initiative, we saw that paper continues to remain the primary medium of bureaucracy. And even more importantly, we saw that tech-savvy bureaucrats who supported the transition to paperless systems often ended up contributing to the persistence of paper themselves. This persistence of paper has long been of interest to scholars in HCI, CSCW, and ICTD. Prior work has shown that users prefer to work on paper because it is cheap, predictable, familiar, and easy to annotate as opposed to digital systems. Paper is also better suited to some informal tasks, such as scratch work that doesn't need to be preserved for posterity. Further, paper is an institutional resource that constitutes and mediates relationships in organizations. And particularly in low-income and low-literacy groups, paper is known to provide a semblance of control and ownership that digital systems, and particularly data stored on remote servers, just cannot provide. However, prior work deploys a very narrow conceptualization of end users that does not include government officials. Officials are charged with implementing and working with large systems of technological governance, and by excluding this important group of users, HCI ignores the opportunity to inform large-scale and high-impact governance projects. Additionally, prior work does not sufficiently explain how the very same people who favor electronic systems also end up contributing to the persistence of paper. And so in this paper, we ask, why does paper persist within ostensibly paperless forms of governance, and what can system designers do about it? Our work was conducted at the CM Helpline in the state of Madhya Pradesh in central India. The CM Helpline is an e-governance initiative aimed at making governmental services and grievance redress easy to access, accountable, and fully digitized. Now, this is one of India's largest e-governance systems. For example, from 2015 to 2019, it received over 6.5 million complaints. The helpline runs a toll-free telephone line, and upon calling, trained call center operators help citizens articulate their complaint and enter it into a statewide electronic system. These complaints range from no electricity in one person's house to broken hand pumps that service primary water sources for entire villages. Also, helpline operators assign these complaints to one amongst 9,000 officials who are spread across 56 state departments. Government officials, on their part, are expected to resolve complaints within 7 days. And once a complaint is resolved, operators call citizens back to verify that they are satisfied with the resolution. This paper draws upon ethnographic fieldwork conducted at the CM Helpline in January 2015, consisting of 50 hours of observation and 14 semi-structured interviews with government officials and helpline operators. This was part of a year-long engagement with grievance redress in central India specifically. Our original intent when studying the CM Helpline was to understand its inner workings, but in an initiative that is lauded for being paperless, we found paper everywhere we looked. And this is what inspired our secondary analysis that we are presenting in this paper. We found that the transition from paper to electronic systems is complicated. In the case of the CM Helpline, paper has affordances, as we know from prior work, but importantly, paper feels natural in Indian bureaucracy because of colonial era legacies. Paper was very intentionally put in place by the British government because the mobility of paper made it possible to rule India from afar. Anthropologists of governance have shown that this continues into present times. Instead of merely recording what happens, writing on paper constitutes the Indian state, and it is the main activity that takes place in bureaucratic work. I invite you to read our paper for more details, but note that the mere presence of paper serves as proof of work being done. And this allows paper to be co-opted into the structural violence, by which I mean the systematically arbitrary outcomes of bureaucratic decision making. And this affects India's most marginalized populations. To combat this, decision makers put their faith in new electronic systems that are aimed at digitizing governance. And this faith falls in line with techno-solutionist agendas that are spearheaded by international aid organizations such as the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. However, paper continues to persist alongside new systems, and by implication, this also sustains the structural violence. Why does this happen? We found that new systems disempower users. The move from paper to electronic systems reduces officials from previously decision-making subjects who delegate work to others, instead into mere typing subjects who must directly interface with the CM Helpline system themselves. Traditionally, officers in Indian bureaucracies do not type. They dictate correspondence to full-time typists and stenographers who do the actual typing. Additionally, in the CM Helpline, officials are made to receive work orders from lower-ranked CM Helpline operators instead of directly interacting with citizens or superior officials themselves. Further, the new system makes officials feel burdened and distrusted. Here is a quote from an official in a state-run bank. The CM Helpline has a great thought behind it, but there is absolutely no verification done before complaints are registered. Maybe 25% of the complaints are genuine. In one case, a person complained saying they didn't know whether their account had been opened under the correct scheme. So they filed a complaint instead of checking with the bank. You can't file a complaint because you don't know. Echoing these concerns, a high-ranking official from the education department said, "So officials are now accountable for everything, but there is absolutely no citizen accountability. The helpline is free and phoning in is easy. If the complaint is faulty, it could be a waste of our time and effort. The CM, that is the chief minister, should also listen to the officer's part of the story as well. They've given us a phone number to call, but no one is available to talk. Whom do we talk to at the CM helpline?" That is, paper persists in e-governance because new systems disempower users and make them feel distrusted. So, what can system designers do? First, we suggest that designers should attend to sociocultural and historical specificities. Pressured for time and biased by universalized models of design, these often tend to get left by the wayside. For example, the colonial legacies of paper in Indian governance, the post-colonial and techno-solutionist underpinnings of the push for e-governance, or changes in traditional labor hierarchies between officials and typists. Second, we show that the transition demands additional work from all actors in the ecosystem, and therefore systems should be designed for generosity. That is, we should recognize that both officials and ordinary citizens are overworked and underpaid, and therefore both are fallible. And therefore, we should design fault-tolerant systems. For example, in computing, it is common for networks to be fault-tolerant. Even if a few nodes in the network fail, the rest of the network can still recover and continue functioning. We suggest taking a similar stance towards human failure, and particularly so during periods of transition. Finally, we see that new and old systems tend to coexist long past the planned transition period. Therefore, systems should be designed for graceful integration and retirement. For example, the CM helpline was not designed to integrate with the old filing system used in the education department. On the other hand, the old filing system was not designed to be retired. Further, the education department had been using the old filing system for several decades and had organized all their work practices around it. On the other hand, the CM Helpline was a new system that had just been introduced and it was not customized for the education department. Also, there's always the possibility that the current government's pet project may disappear once the ruling party changes. As a result, officials continued to work on paper and used printouts of complaints to manually cross-reference between the CM Helpline and the old filing system. That is, both systems coexisted and their office was full of stacks and stacks of paper. To summarize, this paper has examined questions around the continued persistence of paper in technological governance. We found that paper persists because new systems disempower users in unexpected ways. We propose that HCI research should construe the term end users more broadly and include government officials. Further, we recommend that technology design should attend to sociocultural and historical specificities. New systems should empower users and be resilient to human error during transition. And finally, we should build systems that are designed to gracefully integrate into and retire out of existing ecosystems. We hope you read our paper and please get in touch for questions or comments. Thank you.